Okay. Let's see. Are we live? Okay, we are live. So, welcome guys to the Sales Manager Academy. Today, I want to talk about keystone habits and what that means uh, for for you, your leadership, for your salespeople. Now, to iterate what keystone habits are, keystone habits is that one thing that you do that makes everything else possible. Um, think of it in terms of like, say, when you're trying to work out or eat healthier. There's one thing that you do that allows everything else to happen, right? That just feels natural. And all right, since I'm doing this, I also want to do this. Since I'm doing this, I also want to make sure I do this, right? So if I'm eating healthier because I want to live a healthier lifestyle, get fitter, whatever the case is, I might start making salads. Then after eating salads, I'll decide, you know what? I don't need to eat as many sweets, or I can cut down the portion of sweets, uh, eat smaller portions of foods. Then I might decide, you know what? Let me also throw in, some workouts. Let me do some kettlebells. Let me do some dumbbells. Let me do some cardio. Those are all additional habits that you'll start to do because of the one thing that you decided to do, that linchpin, that domino effect. It's the same thing when it comes to your leadership. What's the one thing that you could do that makes everything else possible, that makes everything else viable, right? Um, for a lot of people, it'll be, say, maybe getting up earlier. Say you decide you get up earlier as a leader uh, to plan out your day, to start your day off the right way, uh, to you know do say what you found in the 5 a.m. club, right? If you guys don't know what the 5 a.m. club is, it literally what it sounds like. You wake up at 5 a.m. and then you spend the first hour of the day in three 20-minute intervals doing something different. First 20 minutes of the day, you're working out. So from 5 to 5:20, you're doing a workout for the day. Between 5:20 5:40, you might be reading a book. Between 5:40 to 6 a.m., you might be doing some journaling, right? And that's how you start your day before anything else, before anybody else is awake in the house, before uh, you start the day or anything like that. That's the whole thing, right? Let's see. So that's like the biggest thing, um, is ensuring that you do something. You have that one keystone habit that you can revolve everything around. Uh, in the book Habits by Charles Duhigg, or The Power of Habits, I should say. This one right here. If you guys haven't picked it up, as a leader, it's a must read. You have to. Leadership. If you follow me on TikTok, if you follow me on any other platform, you'll realize that I'm big in psychology. I believe that as a leader, you have to know psychology. You have to understand psychology and how it works, specifically social psychology, the psychology of how we interact with each other and others in our environments. It's huge, right? A lot of what we do, a lot of what we try to instill in salespeople, in teams, and organizations are unconscious habits that happen. And in order for unconscious habits to happen, you have to start to proactively to be conscious about creating those habits. And the worst thing you can do as a leader is just regurgitate all the information, throw it up on your team, aka do an 8 hour day, an 8 hour seminar for a day, and then think that your team is set for the quarter, for the year, with that one training, with absolutely no follow up, with absolutely no like cementing the foundations that they learned to be able to grow from there, right? So that's a huge thing. So you got to understand where you're at, where you're coming from, and psychology is going to be a big help for you as a leader, whether you're a new leader or whether you're a veteran leader that is wanting to take your team, your organization to that next level. And listen, large organizations probably have somewhat of a handle on this. I will say this: most people in large organizations have no idea what the hell they're doing. um, it is just like you see on videos where it's just a bunch of hot mess that's being thrown around and seeing what sticks, um, and it sucks, right? For smaller organizations where you still have more interaction with leadership and with the executives of the company, it becomes a lot easier to actually get that follow through and get that implementation. Or even smaller organizations where the owner, the leader is still on the front lines, still actively involved with the day-to-day business, uh, then this is something that you could take and use and really be able to push your organization to that next level, um, and really have something that's going to be viable for long term. In Keystones, one of the big things that he talks about, or in Habits, he does have a chapter where he talks about Keystones. If you really want to look into it, um, and how that really can change an organization. As a leader, when I had my people on commission, the biggest thing that I would focus on to be able to bring change was one thing that was important for my team. And I don't care what you think or what you say when it comes to people who get paid by working for you. They're not working for you because they love your organization. That's a byproduct. They're working for you because you're being paid to work. Specifically, if you have salespeople are not there because they're altruistic. If you as an organization think that because you're paying your people a base plus commission, that the base alone is going to be what keeps your team there, and that the commission is somehow that extra gravy that's sprinkled on top, you have one, no understanding of sales or salespeople, period. Two, you have no sales organization whatsoever or comprehension of what a sales organization actually looks like. Uh, Salespeople are not there because of the base. Salespeople are there because they're making extra money on top, and that's what they're really after, right? They're calculating what they need for the lifestyle to be able to attain that, and that's the margin that they need to hit and what they need to make in order to have that lifestyle that they've come to enjoy or are after. And that's what you need to understand when it comes to salespeople. So, for instance, going out and saying, "Oh yeah, we're paying you already enough," as though the efforts of the salespeople are not what is getting their sales. That somehow magically the organization is the one giving the sales to the people. That fundamentally means that you have no understanding. And if that's the case, if your organization is just giving the sales to the people, then they shouldn't be paid a commission because you have clerks, you don't have salespeople, right? Um, when it comes to salespeople, that's what they want to know. They want to know how I can make more money. Because that means a lot to them. It's not specifically the money. Go back to what I said a few moments ago about the lifestyle, about what they've come to enjoy. The money means a lifestyle for them. That lifestyle can be a lot of different things. It could be raising their family and being able to give them the means to be able to do that. It might mean that they want to travel, and that's how they afford their travels. It might mean that they're into vehicles, into outfitting their jeeps, their trucks, their cars, whatever the case is. So that's what it means for them to have that extra funds. Uh, it could be going out, right? It means a whole lot of different things to a whole lot of different people. And that's where a lot of leaders, a lot of people in management have no understanding. What I would do is I would actually spend time with my people to understand where they came from. So that when I had those conversations with them, it was an easier way to be able to actually make it personable to them for them to understand why it was important. And when I would come with change, I wouldn't come with like, this is what we're going to do and this is it. I would come with change from a perspective of commissions. This is what it means for your commission. And my thing was like, my goal was to make sure that you're making more commissions that you were ever before. And this is how we're going to do it. Uh, Now, and I would ask my people, do you not want to make the commissions? Like, are you saying that you don't want to make more money? Because think about it. If you're in a sales organization, if you have salespeople, yes, they want to make more money. Yes, they want to earn more. Yes, they want to have less stress when they're making that money. So when I'm coming in and saying, yes, we have a plan to be able to increase our sales, this is what we're going to do to help implement this plan. And this is one, going to increase your sales. Two, we're going to decrease the stress that you have. Three, I would come in a way to make it very simple and say, we're going to learn how to work less to make this money, right? And I'm not saying that, oh, we're going to work less hours. No, no. I'm saying we're going to be smarter about this. This is where I was coming from. We're going to be smarter about this, and it's going to seem like it's less work. At the beginning, it's going to seem like more work because we have to learn this new process. We have to do things a little bit different. And once you learn it, it's going to make things a lot easier and faster for you, and you're going to make more with less effort. That's what working less means. So you have to understand how to be able to frame it for your people to make them want to do that and want to participate in change. And even for those people that are struggling and say, I don't want to, I don't want to, they are going to have this nagging feeling in the back like, but I want to make more money. I want to work less. I want less stress. That's going to want to make them move forward. And guys, I'm not going to say we're going to be able to save everybody, that everybody's going to be a fit. Maybe people are burnt out of the lifestyle of being in sales. Maybe they're ready for something different, right? Maybe they're needing something different. And it happens, right? But this is a way to be able to go through and help turn your people that have been with you for a while that may seem burnt out and be able to reignite that feeling for them, reignite that passion for what they're doing, and get them reinvigorated again in the organization. It comes down to how you do it. And for me, that was the keystone habit I would come in, was the ability to make more money working less, right? We're going to create this habit. This is how we're going to do it. And with that mindset, I've turned the performance of single store locations around. I've increased the performance of salespeople that were never in sales before, brand new to the industry, that were outperforming other veterans, uh, not just in that store, but also in the market. I've turned around markets doing this as well, and teaching people in a very short period of time how to be able to do more with less and feel good about it. Because guys, the days of coming in and being like, "Oh, you better be happy you have a job," or everybody is fireable. We can fire you and just hire somebody else. Guys, those days are gone. Yeah, you could fire somebody and hire somebody new. Then you have to train them up. You have to hope that they want to stay. You could better hope that they don't leave before they've made back the investment that you put in recruiting, hiring, and training somebody, because that all takes time. And here's the thing, for most organizations, your first year is going to be when you are making the money back on the employee. It's going to take about 6 to 9 months for most organizations to be able to recoup that initial investment. And if they leave before that, you have to redo that again. So now you're wasting more funds, you're wasting more capital, you're wasting more doing less. It is easier to retain employees that are in the organization than it is to have to go out, hire, find somebody, hire them, train them, because they still have to learn everything that the people in the organization had known before. So if you can keep those people in the organization, it's going to mean a lot more for you in the long term than if you're constantly having to churn and burn, right? If you're churning and burning employees, it could be the organization, or in most cases, it's the leadership that are running those teams that they got to go because they don't understand the company, they don't understand the culture, they don't understand the economics of what's going on anything. They might be a good friend of yours in the organization, but if that's the case, you have to make a business decision. And unfortunately, that friendship and that business decision don't go together. You can still be friends, just not in the organization. And for small companies, for smaller owners, that's a harder pill to swallow because you might think of these people as family. And the truth of the matter is that they're not family. If you can leave, if you can fire them, that really isn't a family. What it's more like is a team. And this is where building habits comes back into play. Because as a coach, you're training your team to be able to perform every single day on the field, which is the cells, right? The sales floor, or whatever your particular field is. Uh, and as a coach, you have to be able to train. So you're going to give them material. They're going to learn the material. They're going to learn it through running drills, through training, through reinforcement. As a coach, you have to ensure that is happening and that is going on, and to be able to correct. Correct does not mean write ups. Correct does not mean coaching, firing, suspending. No. Correcting means spending time investing yourself in these people to ensure that they're actually doing it. Because oftentimes, when you just regurgitate information, when you just throw out information, you expect them to be able to retain, all this information without ever implementing it first and learning it. They're not going to be able to retain it, and the issue is that their brain is not able to actually make that connection as to how this and this works. Part of the habits that I would instill, for instance, on new employees was I broke it down from the interview process through even the hiring process. I would reinforce it. Listen, I don't expect you to know everything when you come in. I do expect you to ask questions. I do expect you to try things, and I expect you to fail at things, and that's going to be perfectly fine because that's reinforcing the ability for them to do things and not have to worry about repercussions if they make a mistake, right? Because think about it. That's one of the worst things that happens because they feel whenever they make a mistake in their personal lives or in previous jobs, the reaction to that tends to be completely off the scale as to what happened. But giving them that assurance that, hey, you can make mistakes and that's perfectly fine. We're here. We're going to help support you. We're going to walk you through. We're going to help correct, right, as far as what happens. There's really nothing that you could do to mess up that we can't fix except for yada, 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 right? And that would be kind of something I would go through with them. And I would break it down and I would tell them, listen, your sales training with me is going to be over a 90-day period for your new hire training. And I would break it down through milestones. At every 30 days, there would be a specific milestone I would want them to have, right? And it was based on the important KPIs, not all of the KPIs, but the most important KPIs that brought in the best amount of revenue, not just for the organization, but also for them. And I would explain it. This is what I want you to be able to focus on. And this is what I want you to be able to do by this period. This is what I want you to do by this period. This is what I want you to do by this period, right? So I would break it down into what they needed to hit to show that they were progressing forward. The miraculous thing is that most of my new hires hit every single KPI that I asked them to hit by about 45 days at the latest. Okay, that was the nice thing because one, it gave them that confidence of, oh snaps, I hit these important metrics before 90 days. Like I can really do this, right? It gives them that confidence to know that this is actually not as difficult as I was making it seem. And I'm picking this up and I am a rock star. So when they get that boost, they want to do more. And then also when they get that boost and they see it on their commissions, when they see it on their pay, it becomes very realistic for them at that point. And listen, in the industry I was in, commissions were paid 60 days in the arrears. What that meant is that you went 2 months without seeing the commission that you earned, right? So you work month one, you wouldn't see those commissions until the end of month three. right? 60 days after they earned, and 60 days is after that month ends. That's when that 60-day clock begins, right? That's why I was paid at the end of month 3. So that's like the biggest thing that a lot of people weren't really understanding. But that started making a whole big difference for them because they were starting to actually see that, hey, I could make this, I could do this. So it was easier for me to, one, retain employees because I was helping them understand the differences and helping them understand that, hey, my goal as a leader is to help you in what you're doing and to make sure that you are successful. And we're going to be successful by doing this, this, and this because it's going to make your life easier. It's going to get you more money. It's going to get you less stress. It's going to get you to work less, right? Working less meaning putting in essentially less mental effort because you've now trained yourself to be able to do this subconsciously where you don't have to think about it. You see this happen, so boom, you're going to be able to just go with the flow and close a lot more because now you have cues, you have mental cues of what you're looking for. You're able to understand the psychology better when you're interacting with other people. You can see the habits that we're talking about. And I would teach my team habits on how to be able to understand certain things and how to be able to break certain cues from people so that they wouldn't fall into old habits where they weren't selling or they wouldn't fall into habits where a customer was ignoring them and not giving them the day of daylight, right? And that was very important to understand and for me to be able to help my team get to, right? And that's the biggest thing about keystone habits. It's going to be that one habit that you're going to revolve all the change in your team, in your organization around, right? It's the one thing that will make everybody who says, I don't want to do that, sound like an idiot. Because when it came to commissions, if my goal was to help you make more money and work less, how do you think employees who came in and said, I think that's stupid, sounded like? Not just to me, not just to their peers, but also to themselves when they would say it out loud. Like, he's wanting us to make more money. He's wanting us to have to work less. Why am I saying I don't want to do this? And that is what keystone habits, that's what coming in with a plan really means. And unfortunately, as leaders, when you're taking over an organization, when you're taking over a team, when you're stepping into a role, it is very hard because you're coming in with this is the goals I want to hit. Cool, you have the end in mind, but how are you going to get there? Because when it comes to teams, when it comes to leadership and managing people to success, yeah, as a solo contributor, I have my goals and I know exactly what I'm going to do. When I'm a leader, I have my goals. How am I going to get my team there to those goals? And that's the tough pill to swallow for a lot of people because they don't understand how to be able to get the two to go in line. So they think about it the way they would do it as though they were a solo contributor still. And this is the goal. This is what you guys need to do to get there. Do it. And then just kind of shove it in people's face and never come back to it. They don't take the role of being the coach and having these star athletes that have potential and bring that potential out and see what they're truly capable of. As a leader, as a coach, it means yes, you're going to invest more time and energy at the beginning. But you're doing that so that you don't have to do as much once everything is going, once it's game day. And you'll be surprised how well adept your team is, how great they do at being able to make things their own and really run with what they're being taught and what they're learning and really succeeding. Because you thought this right here was the ceiling that your team achieved with the right training, with the right reinforcement, with the right guidance, with the right habits, where you thought this was what they could achieve. Now they're going far above and beyond what you thought was possible. And think about that. What would that mean for you if you're a small business owner and you now don't have to work every single day because you're able to build the right habits with your team where you know things are going to get done. It's easier to delegate. It's easier to manage your time because now, cool, they're going to get things knocked out and it's going to get done. You're golden. Think about that. Or say, you're a leader in an established organization and now you're able to take vacations without having to worry about what performance looks like, what is going to happen when you're not there to answer calls or to be able to jump in for those fire drills, right? When you can come back and it's as though you never left. If you just heard that and you feel like, oh man, that means I could get fired, you're thinking about it wrong. Because I can tell you from experience, that means that you have people on your team that can get promoted into your role. And that is always a great thing because that means now you become even more promotable because you have a skill of being able to help and develop people that could be used either in a different market or in a different setting within the organization. So never be afraid to have people be able to take the reins from you. You want to train people to move into your role because guess what happens if you get promoted and you had nobody that can take over in your capacity in your role in that region? You're not doing your job as a leader, right? That's the biggest thing that you can do is making sure that you take that and allow that growth to happen. Because I've taken markets from people that the organization thought was doing very well, and I've almost doubled what that market was doing under my leadership. I've moved into markets that were doing great and had a leader that wasn't doing the best that they could with that market and completely turned the market around while my old market was still performing greatly. And that's what it means as a leader, that you can up and leave a role and the team behind you that was there is still able to do what they were doing before without you needing to be present so that you can go and make a change somewhere else for the positive and allow that to happen. That is what it means to be a leader. That's what it means to be a coach. That is where you want to be. And you can't do that if you don't have an idea of what keystone habit you're going to revolve all the change around. So ask yourself, whether it's you personally, whether it's for your team, whether it's for your organization, what is the one keystone habit that you can think of, that you can pick out, that would help you make that change for the entire organization, for the entire sales team, for your personal mind? What is that one thing that can change and you can frame things around that just make it make sense as to why you would do it and make it seem like stupid uh, to not want to go in line with it? Right? I give you my example. One of the examples that Charles Duhigg has used, it was an aluminum company. I think he said it was back in the 80s. And they had a new guy come in, take the reins as CEO, and his whole thing was employee safety. How can they ensure that employee safety is number one? And through focusing on employee safety, not only do they increase employee safety, but they increase profitability, they increase production, right? Through one habit of making sure that people understood that he cares about us. Because guys, as an organization, as I understand this if you're in leadership, as an organization, it doesn't matter how profitable your company is, right? If you're not focusing on your people that are making those profits possible, they will never be as grand as they can possibly be. You got to take care of your people so that your people will take care of the organization. It doesn't mean that you're going to cheat your people. It doesn't mean that you're going to find ways to pay them less. It means that you're going to find ways to make sure they are compensated well, um, through not just money, through benefits, through perks, through less stress, whatever the case is. For me, it was focusing on their commissions and making sure that they had more money coming in. And I would also explain it on how that helps out with their vacation days, right? How they can make sure that even when they take vacation, they can come back and have things rolling. And that was always the grand thing because they can now start seeing bigger and they can start making actual plans for what they wanted to do with themselves. So ask yourself, what is the one thing? Whether it's driving commission sales to make them better, uh, with the lifestyle that they want, whether it's employee safety to make sure that employees feel as they're being heard and taken care of so that they in line take care of the organization. Because in the book, he also describes how, because of that and having the ability to be felt like they were being heard, one of the employees that had nothing to do with the profitability made a recommendation that in line reduced cost and increased their profitability because it increased production. You would be surprised for some of the ideas that will make you some of the best decisions that you ever had for your team or organization come from. But they got to feel as though you care about them. And that means you got to invest time and effort into your people. So take from today that a keystone habit is that one habit that you're going to revolve and frame everything around. But it's got to make sense. You can't have, the habit be, we're going to be more profitable. That's not a habit. That's a result, right? So find the keystone habit that you want your team to have. The ability to make more money is a habit, right? That can be built. How do we build that habit? And this is what we're going to focus on. More money, less stress, less work. And then we break it down into what we're going to do. Think about it for yourself. Think about it, what it could mean. Find and frame that keystone habit in a way that makes sense. In a way that everything else can fall in line to be able to do and get where you want to get to within your career, within the organization, within your business. And with that, guys, I want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy, and I'll catch you on the next one.